How's it going? I've tried to film this video so many freaking times. I'm going a little bit crazy. We're gonna cut right to the chase though, because I want to make this as short as possible because I filmed it so many times. Today, we're gonna be doing a dramatic reading. Fairy tale time. Book I wrote. I wrote it in 8th grade. It's a little cringy. That's why we're doing this dramatically. Because it's cringy and it's better to laugh than it is to think that this was ever good writing. Bullet point number 1. You can buy this online if you want to. Bullet point number 2. I don't make any money from it because I don't know how to access the account that I created in the 8th grade. So you can buy it. It doesn't hurt my feelings if you buy it and I don't get money. I don't care. I mean, if it ever becomes a bestseller, I get a lawyer. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, don't worry about it. If you want a paper copy, you don't need one. But if you want one, you can get it on Amazon. You can also get the sequel on Amazon, but we don't need to get into that till later. Bullet point number 3, I am going to be posting the chapters on my blog when I post these videos, if I can ever get these videos posted. It was like a month ago that I recorded me reading this, and since then we've been having issues with iMovie and my phone and my computer, and you don't want to hear the whole story. I can't think of any other words right now, so without further ado, let's make this a little bit more dramatic, shall we? Every story has its own beginning. Chapter 1, Jeff and Rosie. Every story has its own beginning. This one starts as so. Once upon a time. No, wait. Those stories usually end up something like happily ever after. Okay, retake. It was a dark and stormy night, but hey, that's not accurate. As a matter of fact, it was quite the opposite. Here we go again. It was a bright and sunny day. Yeah, that's it. So now we have the beginning. Let's get this story moving, shall we? It was a bright, crisp fall day. The leaves were at their best, sweet-smelling in an assortment of reds and yellows. Jeff loved it that way. His favorite part of the day was upon him, walking to school. There is nothing like the satisfying crunch of leaves beneath your feet. It looks like a Robin Hood kind of day, he thought. You might be like, a Robin Hood kind of day? What on earth does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Well, one thing you should know about Jeff is that he loves to read. He likes anything with a fairy tale kind of view. Knowing this, you should also know that Jeff reads on his way to school. So it looks like a Robin Hood kind of day means that Jeff is going to read Robin Hood on his way to school. Now you might be wondering, how can it look like a Robin Hood kind of day? And though your wonderings are annoying, I will answer this. It looks like a Robin Hood kind of day also means that Jeff thinks that the walk to school looks like Sherwood Forest. What's that? You have another question? What is Sherwood Forest? Well, it is clear that you do not read many a fairy tale. Perhaps you should give this book to a more experienced fairy tale reader. But hey, you got me off point. Sherwood is simply where Robin Hood lives. Now, no more wonderings or questions. I have a story to tell. Where was I? Oh yeah. Jeff pulled a leather-bound book out of his backpack and started to read all about Robin and his merry men. The book was a gift from Jeff's grandmother. She had known he loved books and gave him one from her vast private library. As Jeff was walking, he glanced up from his book and saw a girl walking beside him, leaning over and reading along with him. "Hey, would you please stop that?" Jeff exclaimed. "I beg your pardon?" Oh, great. It was that snooping reporter girl. Her and her big glasses and pigtails were always pinning someone down for an interview. She might be the only one who was less liked than Jeff in their school, Washington Junior High. The only difference was that she had friends. "Would you stop reading my book?" Jeff answered more calmly. "Sorry, just trying to figure out what it was. The title must have rubbed off or something," the girl said. "It's pretty boring, whatever it is. A lot of thy and thou in there." "You don't have to tell me I was the one reading it," Jeff thought angrily. "Yes, well, it is a very old book." "So what story is it?" "Robin Hood," Jeff mumbled. The girl was silent for a long while, and Jeff was grateful for the reading time. Once the pair got to the school, the girl ran off and took a picture of some teacher pulling in on a motorcycle. Jeff put his book away and headed for his first class. After school, Jeff started home but was stopped by the reporter girl. "Hi, it's me again." "I can tell," he thought. "I was feeling kind of bad about wrecking your reading time this morning, and I thought that I should at least introduce myself. I'm Rosie." she said, thrusting her hand towards Jeff. He turned it down, seeing ink dripping off of her already messy arm. I'm Jeffrey, but all my family calls me Jeff. Cool, my name's really Rosita, but my peeps call me Rosie. Peeps? My friends. Ah, friends. Jeff would give anything to have some other boys to hang around with. I'm glad I'm not that lonely. Your friends? I see. You're on the school paper, right? Jeff inquired blankly. Yeah, I'm the girl who writes all the front page stuff, she said smugly. Jeff nodded and continued to walk towards his home. Rosie followed. If you want to read again, I can leave you alone, Rosie said awkwardly. Jeff was going to yell out, "Leave me alone!" But he remembered that this strange reporter was the only kid in school who had even bothered to talk to him. That's okay. It's nice that someone isn't worried about being seen hanging around with me. Rosie looked questioningly at him. What do you mean? Well, most kids just don't want to talk to me because I read so much or something. Rosie looked sympathetic. That's too bad. I think you're nice, the girl said with a sheepish grin. When Jeff got home, he opened the gate to his front yard and looked around. Good. No sign of King. King was Jeff's dog. He was a Great Dane and loved to jump all over Jeff and slobber on him. Jeff wasn't as joyful to see the dog, mostly because King loved to knock him over. Rosie looked around. What are we looking for? I want to make sure my dog doesn't tackle me. So why are you whispering? Rosie whispered. I don't want King to hear me. You mean the dog, right? Jeff didn't answer because he saw King running out of the house. Duck! Jeff called. The kids ducked as King landed on top of Jeff. Oof! The boy groaned under the weight of the 100-pound dog. King licked Jeff and sniffed Rosie. Rosie was giggling the whole time. So you want a snack from my mom? She has a policy that whoever King tackles gets a snack, Jeff laughed. The two went into the old Victorian-styled home and walked towards the kitchen with Jeff leading the way. In the large, warm kitchen, a woman stood, making cookies by the oven. Hi, honey, how did school go? She said, turning to see them. Oh, you brought a friend. How nice. What's your name, dear? I'm Rosie. Finally, Jeff has a friend. He always seems so lonely with nothing but books, the plump mother cooed. The kind woman sat them down at the table and gave them each a chocolate chip cookie and a glass of milk. They thanked her and she went back to her baking. After they devoured the cookies, they went into the living room and turned on the TV. There were never any good shows on around this time, Jeff said glumly. Rosie nodded. There's never anything to do after school. Since they had nothing else to do, Rosie suggested that the two question each other about themselves. They started with questions such as, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And important things like that. And then they got silly and asked foolish questions like, what is your favorite hobby? And what do you think of this sports team? The two found themselves in giggles. And then laughter. One time they even cackled. All in all, they had a great time questioning each other. Not the funniest activity if you ask me, but they didn't ask me, so I have no say in the matter. They had such a great time that when Rosie's dad called her cell phone to tell her to come home, they even seemed disappointed. Rosie asked if he wanted to come over to her place the next day so he could meet her dad. Jeff said sure, and that they should walk home together again, unless, of course, something or someone totally destroyed their friendship in 24 hours or less. So Rosie went home and Jeff ate dinner. What a fine dinner it was, from Fast Delivery Frank, with lots of extra meat. What a great day, or so Jeff thought, because really Rosie was a vampire trying to drink Jeff's blood. Oh, how good that would taste. She concealed herself in the house, ready for Jeff's demise, hoping for a taste of, whoops, wrong story. It was actually a great day for Jeff, don't worry. This is not a horror story. Nothing too bad happens to anybody. The next day, Rosie and Jeff walked to school together and talked about the story of Robin Hood. Who's your favorite character? Rosie asked Jeff. I think Robin Hood himself, but then again, I really like Little John. How about you? I don't know, I've never really read the book, I just saw the movie, Rosie said with a shrug. Ha! The movie isn't anything like the book. Not at all, I tell you. I'll lend my book to you sometime. As they continued to walk to school, Rosie looked uncomfortable. Hey Jeff, what would you do if I put everything I asked you about yesterday in a paper? Jeff's face was a mix of bewilderment and anger. I can't say that I blame him. You put that stuff in the school newspaper? How could you? I didn't think you would. I mean, why? Because my editor thought my stories should be so students can relate to it better. I thought it would be good to do an interview with a kid and see how people would react. So I walked with you, and I interviewed you secretly. I'm sorry, but I thought you might like it because it might make you more popular. And how will this make me more popular? Well, I thought people would like you if they got to know you better, Rosie said meekly. Jeff stomped off and went to class. In class, James the jock was showing off again. He was sitting on Jeff's desk and showing his muscles to everybody. As usual, at least 2 girls had swooned and landed on the floor. Why don't people ever catch those cheerleaders? Jeff pondered, stepping over them. James, you're sitting on my desk again, Jeff said. Yeah, I know, it has the best light. Come on, class is about to start. James hopped down and shoved Jeff. Well, sorry, buddy, but I like it here. I need my desk back, James, Jeff said, his temper rising. James laughed jollily. I was just messing with you. Here you go, one well-lit desk. Jeff sat down and pulled out his book. What could go wrong while he was in Robin Hood's world? If only he could visit more often. Little did he know that his wishes would be granted soon. Later, in the hallway, Jeff picked up a newspaper and read, Jeff Roberts, One Special Student, by Rosetta Stone. Some of you may have never heard of Jeff Roberts, but after you read this, you're going to wish that you had. Jeff is a great dude, remarkable if you ask me. Jeff knows a lot about fairy tales and neat facts that I bet you didn't know. There was more, but Jeff didn't bother to read it. He had to go find Rosie and apologize for blowing up at her earlier. The newspaper hadn't said what he thought it would say. Jeff thought Rosie had just wanted to be his friend for the interview and then forget about him. He thought that she was going to put the embarrassing stuff that he had told her about, like that he had a stuffed bear. If I were the reporter, I would totally put that juicy information in the paper, but alas, I am not a middle school newspaper reporter. When Jeff found Rosie, she was in the classroom that the school used for the newspaper editing room. She was in there working over a computer. A click here, a letter there. Jeff went in and a girl looked up. Excuse me? Do you work with the press? I didn't think so. Now you leave. Goodbye, she said quickly while waving goodbye. Then Rosie looked up. Hey, Abby, let him come in. He's the one I interviewed. The girl named Abby flicked her blonde hair angrily, but let Jeff pass. Hi, I wanted to apologize for getting mad at you earlier. I should have read the paper before I assumed that you had written awful stuff about me. I'm really sorry, Jeff mumbled. Rosie smiled. And I'm sorry too. I should have told you that I was putting you in the paper. It was wrong of me to assume. The two laughed at each other. After school, Rosie led Jeff to her apartment building, and inside he met Mr. Stone, a great whale of a man and an always jolly fellow. They had potato chips and pop, and watched Rosie's favorite TV show, The 5 o'clock News. Later, Rosie showed Jeff her harmless pet snake, Charlie. Well, I think it was harmless. No one got hurt anyway. All in all, they had a nice and lovely time. Oh, that's redundant, you say? Here, I'll revise. All in all, they had a pleasant time. There. Now, you might be starting to think that this is a darling little story where 2 children go on cute adventures together, grow up, and get married. It's not. I don't know if they get married, perhaps so, but if you want to find that out, you're going to need a crystal ball and a fortune teller, because I simply do not know. You might be getting the notion that I don't like you because I keep talking to you so harshly. It's not you. It's just these ideas you have need to be corrected so that you don't get the wrong idea. Another thing that you got wrong is that there are 2 children. That is positively incorrect. There are more than 2. You just wait and see. Well, that was exhausting. I forgot I was going to film an outro video, so here's a very quick outro video. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter. If I can get my phone to continue to work, I will do a second chapter at some point, maybe. Yeah, it gets a little bit more exciting. So, stick around, I guess. Until next time, bye!